Coach, you made a couple interesting decisions early in your life, and I wanted to ask you about each. You came out of high school as a pretty good high school basketball player. You had an opportunity to go to University of Washington on a full scholarship. Right. Instead, you go to Princeton on not a full scholarship, obviously. And I've always wondered, and I understand the academic side of that, and I thought that was probably a great decision. But at the same time, do you ever think about what you would have been like as a basketball player if you devoted yourself more to playing in the basketball league against maybe higher caliber players?
I have thought about that ad nauseum. And, you know, I don't regret a moment in my decision. And there was a time when I thought maybe if I had gone to the Pac-8, back then it was the Pac-8, now it's the Pac-12, obviously, I might have gotten a little bit more exposure. I would have, as you mentioned, I would have played against some really good competition, but I might not have ended up where I'm sitting here across from you talking to you about this wonderful ride I've had. So I've thought about it a lot, but I wouldn't change a thing.
The other decision you made, you get out of college, you were drafted by the NBA, you played in Europe a little bit, but eventually you settle in, you get your MBA in finance, and you settle in on Wall Street. You're working for, like, what, Dean Witter, Morgan Stanley, Continental Bank. You're ticketed. You're on your way. And I read somewhere, I think it might have been the New York Times, I read somewhere where you, at one time, you drove the Porsche, you had the BMW station wagon, you're living in the big house and everything, and you just tossed it all away to be an assistant basketball coach at Northwestern. What was that like?
It was initially it was scary because it was the unknown, but you know, philosophically it was just the right move for me to make, and I don't think it was the right time. I had always planned to sort of leave after I had amassed some wealth and paid back some student loans and paid my house off and saved for my kids' college education. But this wonderful opportunity came up where I had the chance to do something that I love doing, and that's coach basketball and teach kids. And Coach Bill Carmody offered me a job as an assistant at Northwestern, and I didn't know when that was going to come around again, so I decided to take it. And you know, you look now 11 years later, I'm sitting here at Oregon State and on the verge of doing some big things.
Craig, what I'd ask you too is, was that just a lifestyle change, or did that require a change in you to do that?
No, I think it was just more of a lifestyle change. I had gotten used to being able to get the things that I wanted to get. But what I found was that when you finally get those things, they don't add any value to you. They don't add any more marginal utility to your happiness. So from a personal standpoint, I didn't have to change who I was. I just had to alter the way I lived, and the biggest part was the change for my kids. I thought it would be a monumental change for them, and when they realized that I was going to be working at a gym and could see them more often, they even liked it.
You also made another change in that you went from coaching in the East in the Ivy League school. Was it an even bigger change to go from there to come to Corvallis, Oregon, and coach in the Pac-10?
From a purely basketball standpoint, absolutely. I mean, you have in the Ivy League, you have kids who are sort of low to mid-major Division I athletes, and their perspective on basketball is a little different. They still want to play in the pros, but they have this wonderful backup plan that they've got at being at an Ivy League school. And I just wanted to see if I could compete at the highest level. Coaching in the Pac-10, now the Pac-12, was an opportunity to test my mettle against some of the real good programs and good coaches in the country.
Have you grown accustomed to Corvallis? Can you, I mean, there must be some adjustment period to living in a town like this.
There is, if you're not open-minded. You know, we came out here without any kind of preconceived notions. We didn't want to compare it to Providence, where we lived, which was a bigger city. We didn't want to compare it to Chicago, where we've lived. which is also a bigger city. We just wanted to have a nice community to live in and raise our kids in, and it's far exceeded our expectations from that standpoint. We wanted to have a place where when we were building our program that people would be understanding of the time it would take and be knowledgeable about what we're trying to do. We exceeded our expectations from that standpoint. And I wanted to make sure it was a place that once I saw it again after playing here in my college days, was a place where you could recruit good basketball players. And now we're showing that you can do that. So we're extremely pleased with Corvallis, and so from that standpoint, it wasn't a big adjustment.
I mean, I've always thought it was a tough business in that if you don't win games, they're going to go find somebody else, right?
Right.
And to win games, you got to have good players.
Right.
So if other people are offering inducements or added value to the educational process, it puts you in a tough spot if you don't.
It does. But what I think what's happening, and it's happening slowly, is that you're seeing that players who aren't willing to soil themselves are good enough to play against the guys who do. And we're just looking for those guys.
You're finding them?
We are. And as you'll see this season, we are doing pretty good with them.
I want to switch over from basketball a little bit, an obvious topic. What's it like to have your sister be married to the President of the United States?
It is, I thought I'd get used to it by now, but every time I get used to it, it's amazing to me and astounding and humbling to be so close to the President and all the responsibilities that come with it. So it's a responsibility for everyone, and like the rest of the country, I'm rooting for him to get us back on the right track. And but it's, other than that, having my sister come visit me this past summer was like the old days, so that hasn't changed.
I wanted to ask you about that now, Craig. She came out here. What do you do with the First Lady in Corvallis, Oregon? Where do you hang? What do? You go down the Dairy Queen? Or?
You do whatever she wants to do. No, she really just wanted to relax and see her niece and nephews and just have a normal vacation, and that's what we did. You know, we went out to dinner one night. I cooked out one night, and you know, we talked and caught up, played games, and played with the kids, and that was pretty much it.
How many Secret Service guys came with her?
A lot.
Must have been a little different. Any of them stay with you?
You know, we can't discuss
you're not allowed to do that?
what actually happens, but she's in great hands.
I'm wondering, you got another election coming up here soon, and once again, people will be taking pot shots, and it doesn't really matter whether somebody's a Republican or a Democrat here in this situation. What I'm asking you is, when you hear people say things about the president or about your sister, how hard is that for you to deal with?
It is hard, like it would be for anyone, but I don't get too upset about it because I've had to follow my own advice. I mean, when I was coaching before they were in the public light, and they used to hate it when the newspaper said bad things about the teams that I was coaching or bad things about me. And I told them, listen, I am doing what I love to do. I'm good at it. I'm doing the best job I can. I'm having a great time. Don't worry about what people say. And my sister and brother-in-law have turned the tables on me to say, we're doing the best we can. We're happy with how hard we're working. Don't worry about it. So I don't worry about it.
Will you be a part of the campaign this time around?
I would imagine that if they saw fit to have me campaign again, that I would, if I have enough free time, I would be happy and honored to help re-elect the president.
Speaking of the president, now I want you to tell me something that people don't know about him. Could be something goofy. I mean, does he burp after he has dinner or whatever? I mean, give me something.
You know, as you may know, this topic has been talked about since he's been elected. So there's nothing that no one knows that I can share. But what people may not know is that, you know, given all of these really hard times that we're in, he's still able to pay attention to what the Beavers are doing, and that's always nice. And that's sort of a sign of his character and his family orientation, and that makes us feel good out here.
The great thing about people who share the fraternity of basketball or sports in general is they all think they know a little bit. Does he give you tips and insight? And if he does, is it good stuff?
He does give me tips from time to time when he sees our team play, and they're usually pretty spot on. I mean, they're
really
not tips that I wouldn't already know, but they're good observations.
He's seeing things that you're seeing.
Yeah, too. Yeah. So, and he's very gracious about commenting about the team and how we're doing or where we're heading. So it's nice that he pays attention.
Do you ever say to him, hey, this whole debt crisis thing, if you'd only do this or that, or why don't you try this or that? Do you talk politics with him?
I talk politics with him, but I never give him advice. He is the smartest person that I know, and I know a lot of smart guys. People out there know I went to Princeton and University of Chicago Business School. He's the smartest guy I know, and he's surrounded by smart guys. So I don't give him any advice.
I was going to mention to you, my wife's a voracious reader and a pretty smart lady, and she saw your book at home, and she just happened to pick it up and read it. And she got done with it, and she told me, you know, I think every high school kid ought to be made to read this book when they're a freshman in high school because of all the life lessons in it. And when I saw the book, Craig, quite frankly, I said to myself, what is this guy writing a book for? He's not even coached very long, and other than being the brother-in-law of the President of the United States, what's he have to offer in a book? Till I saw the book. Who gave you the idea to do that, and where did it come from? And how much of it did you actually sit down and write yourself without a ghostwriter or anything else?
Well, the idea for it came a while back. I was one of those kids who read and did book reports and always thought, man, it really would be nice to write a book someday. And then you jump ahead and you have your life, and you always in the back of your mind, you were thinking, oh, I wish I could write a book one day. And the great thing about being a writer is that it doesn't matter who wants to read it. You just write. And you jump ahead and to the point where we get to, I was old enough before my dad died to know that the stories he imparted on me and on my sister and the rest of my family were really special, and I wanted to just document those for our family.
And that's the way it started?
And that's how it started. And but who knew that my sister was going to become the First Lady? And when I really decided to just say, all right, I got to put pen to paper and start doing some actual writing, was when I was standing backstage before I introduced her at the Democratic National Convention. And I was just thinking about how my dad would have been so proud to see us standing on this stage. And I said, I've got to do it before I forget all of these stories. And I had already started keeping notes and writing things down. And I wrote a pretty good portion of it. It's just that as a basketball coach and not being a writer, mine sounded like a book report. And I had a wonderful woman, Mim Eichler Rivas, who helped me do the finishing touches, and she did a lot of, she interviewed me and sort of kind of made it sound like it sounds, and I couldn't have done it without her.
Mm. It's an interesting tale, I think, too, of just family dynamics, I think, and the sacrifices that two parents made for their children. And I'm not talking black, white, or any other color right here. It's nice to know that parents did those things, and we certainly need to keep that in mind moving forward, I think.
Yeah, well, I couldn't have asked for a better reception for a game of character. And the lessons in there, you're absolutely right. They weren't rocket science. They were just sort of hard-working people with this great work ethic.
Back to basketball. You've run Princeton kind of offense here. You've slowed the ball down a little bit. You played a lot of zone defense. And people ask me all the time, can you recruit the big-time players playing that way, number one? And number two, will you always play that way, or is it more based on what you have on hand talent-wise that you have to play that way?
Well, the way we play and the way it's perceived are two different things. And what's happened is the propaganda out there has worked because you think we slow the ball down, when in fact last year we almost scored 70 points a game. And that doesn't sound like slowing it down to me. What we play is a version of passing and cutting that had its origination in the Princeton offense, but what I've tried to do is mimic what the Sacramento Kings did when Coach Carrill was there. Mm-hmm. So
Rick Adelman's teams.
That's exactly right, and Eddie Jordan's teams, mm-hmm. and those guys. And I watched those guys practice, and kind of we've been playing that way. Now on defense, we played zone because we hadn't had the athleticism to keep up with the teams that we're playing against. I anticipate that we'll play more man-to-man this season and less zone. But offensively, we're still trying to score 70, 75 points a game. So the slowing down is the only thing that I take umbrage to, because we don't slow the ball down. My competitors say we do because I'm recruiting the same guys they're recruiting. And, you know, but that's show business. I mean, you know, guys don't tell the truth.
Speaking of show business, I mean, basketball now at the college level is show business, is it not? I mean, it seems to me now the pressure is on. Nobody ever asked Slats Gill, who this building is named after, Slats Gill, Slats, be a little more entertaining, would you? Do you feel pressure sometimes that you're an attraction? You have to draw people. You got to keep the whole money machine going.
I don't. Yes, I feel like there is a lot that goes into a college basketball program other than winning and losing. Winning is big, but you have to be entertaining so that you have people who want to come to your games every time you have a home game. And I do interviews like this, so you can't be a moron and uninteresting. So there's some pressure outside of the actual basketball that goes along with this. But everybody's job is pressure packed. Everybody has the threat of being fired these days or laid off. So I am just fortunate that I'm able to do so in an environment that I love to come to work every day.
It's a season, too, I think, where you got your own players now. And they're kids you've recruited. You had some injury problems last year. It looks like hopefully you'll have them healthy, or at least an approximation of that. What kind of a season do you expect, Greg?
Well, you know, we want it to be better than last year. Our goal is, like everyone else's now, to get to the NCAA tournament. And I think we're in a position where we're going to be competitive in every single game we play. So we've ratcheted up our talent level. Now we have to get used to winning and win the games we're supposed to win.
Down the road in Eugene, they've just built a new arena, as you well know, and they have a new basketball coach down there. And I asked Mike Riley a similar question once. I asked him about that great green menace down the freeway a few miles. And I'll ask you the same question, Craig. I mean, the Ducks are close, and it looks like they're going to be pretty good now, and they've got things going, and they've got a lot of money and all that. You ever get tired of hearing about them?
No. I don't concern myself with what they do, other than when we're scouting them for the next game, because it's sort of like being the neighbor of the guy who's got the pool in his backyard and the Porsche in the driveway and the 10,000 square foot house. That's not going to be me, and nor do I want to be that guy. So we try our hardest to get our fans not to be concerned, and I think they're more concerned than we are. But from a coaching standpoint, from a personal standpoint, we're in two different galaxies, and we come together when we play.
You're in the process of trying to raise money. What are you raising money for now, a practice facility?
Yes. Now, what we do need is a practice facility, and we need it more for logistical reasons than we do for anything else, although it will be a great showpiece and marketing piece for the program. But we're raising about $15 million to build a practice facility so that the men and women won't clash from a scheduling standpoint with volleyball and wrestling and gymnastics and the concerts that we have here, and the class schedules. So that mixture, that makes for a tough formula for finding practice times. And now that my team is performing the way they should be performing, I don't have any reason to practice at 5:30 in the morning unless I can't practice any other time of the day.
So you don't have to get them up and punish them with a practice.
I don't have to practice at 5:30 as a result of an attitude adjustment.
How close are you money-wise to getting that thing done?
We're very close. We're close enough. We're done with the plans. We are extremely close, and I think we'll be breaking ground at the beginning of next year, 2012.
You happy here?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'll be happier if we're winning more games, but you know, what the administration here, President Ray and Bob DeCarolis, who's our athletic director, have done is they've made it possible for us to get back to ground zero. Now we got to make it start moving up the charts. And I tell you, once you start winning here, there's no reason to leave. Long
history of success way back. The problem is kids you're recruiting don't remember those years of Ralph Miller and those things like the old guys do. That's right, that's right. But what we say around here is we want the kid who wants to come and make history. You know, we don't necessarily want the kid who wants to already jump on a bandwagon. We want guys who are tough enough to play against those guys and build their own tradition here. When somebody comes on this show, I'd like to give them something for their time. There's a place in Portland called Estes. It's where all of us buy our clothing. Oh, okay. Guys that work at Comcast Sportsnet. And it's an old Beaver guy by the name of Tony Spear that owns right? a place. Okay. And he told me, he said, don't give the guy an orange and black tie. He's got a whole closet of orange and black ties. So we brought you this one. It'll go with anything. This is beautiful. It goes with anything. Yes, yeah. That's the whole idea. Yeah. So there you go. Someday wear that sucker in the White House and we'll all feel really good about it, all right? This is great. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. My pleasure. Appreciate it. Yeah.